Hi boys and girls, Miss A here. Today we're going to talk about our Module 6, Lesson 3 for Math. So today's goal is going to be to create a scaled bar graph. Now we are going to look at our bar graph right over here with the number of fish in Sal's pet store. So we need to, the vertical tape diagram shows the number of fish in the pet store. So this is our vertical diagram, tape diagram, and it shows the number of fish in each store. Now, we need to find the total number of fish in tank C. So I would look at tank C. So I look at the bottom here for my tanks. I look at tank C, and I would have to count. I see that my group sizes are groups of 5. So I would have to count by 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So we know that I'm finding the total number of fish in tank C, and that would be 25. Next, we have tank B has a total of 30 fish. We need to draw that tape diagram for tank B. So I look over here, I see that there is nothing drawn, and I see my other tape diagram. So then I would do the same thing. I would count by 5s and go from 5 to 10 to 15, 20, all the way up to 30. And last one is, how many more fish are in tank B than in tank A and D combined? Now over here, I have combined underline because that means that I'm adding tank A as well as tank D together to see how much they have all together. So I'm going to look at tank A, which has 5, 10, 15, and I look at tank D, which is 5, 10. So we have 15 plus 10, which is 25. So how I would solve and then I need to find out how many more. So for part A, we see that I know that there are 5 groups of 5, so I can count it like I did with my tape diagram earlier, or I could multiply 5 times 5 for my answer for A. So for question 1, we know there are 25 fish in tank C. For B, we have that you drew 6 units of 5 to show a total of 30 fish. So for B, we see that we have to draw the tape diagram. I drew it down here. I could add it in my my tape diagram over here, and we know that there are a total of 30 fish. So just like I drew and underlined in my word problem, I am going to draw it over here. And lastly, for tank C, we added tank A and tank D, and we got 25, just like we did. And then there are 5 more fish in tank B than A and D combined. So I look at part B, or number 2, and I see, okay, there are 30 fish here, and now I have to subtract these 2 minus my tank B. So as you're going through with your tape diagrams, think about how we use them as a vertical way and how we can use them and add them in. Next, we have our tanks over here. So this is the same drawing as before. We see that the bottom shows the number of tanks, or what tank it is, and these numbers on the side up here are the number of fish. It's super important to look at the side lengths and see what I'm counting by. So I know that this is my tank and these are the number of fish. So what does each square on the grid represent? And like we said, we see that each square represents, going up, it's the number of fish at Sal's pet store. So we know that it represents 5 fish. So my unit is 5 fish. So it's always super important to put your units down because that's what shows the number of fish, or how many you're counting by. Next, we can show that by creating a scale on our bar graph. So just like we had over here, we can create a scale. So what numbers are we counting by on the side lengths, and how do we know? Again, we know that we are counting by 5s, and each square has a value of 5. So it's so important to make sure we're looking at our side lengths and thinking about what each one represents and what you're counting by. So just like before, This is the same bar graph, but flipped to the side, and we have now turned it. So looking at our side length, we still have our tanks over here, and our numbers that we're counting by, the number of fish, it still is the same. And we've also added in our number line with a chart of tank A, tank D, tank E, C, and B. So we know that a bar graph can be drawn vertically, like in the first slide where it goes up and down like this, or horizontally, like this one right over here, depending on where you put the labels. The information stays the same as long as you are labeling your side lengths the right way. So if you stay and have your side lengths with the tanks or with the number of fish, whether you put it horizontal or vertically, you know that you need to keep them the same. So you're measuring by the same numbers. And a bar graph allows us to compare easily. So just like our number plot down here, we see that the smallest tank, if I go straight up, this is 10, this is 10. If I go straight up, tank D is my smallest tank, and tank B has 30. So I keep going and I see straight up that tank B has my largest tank. So we know with a bar graph, we absolutely can see the differences, and it's a very visual picture of what we are doing and how we can draw our tanks and how we can draw our look at the numbers and see what the difference is between them. So today, boys and girls, your job is going to be to create a bar graph and to complete the work pages that is attached to this document. And if you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher.